You know what's funny about RWA tokenization? Everyone's got these numbers floating around in their head about how much money will actually end up on chain. They're thinking small, like a trillion here, 10 trillion there, maybe 16 trillion if we're being really optimistic. But here's what blows my mind. People just aren't grasping the full scope of this thing. We're not talking about some money moving on chain. We're talking about all of it. Every dollar, every asset, everything valuable in the entire world is going to live on chain eventually. That's why I'm always telling people we've got this incredible decade-plus runway ahead of us where value just keeps pouring into RWAs. Look where we are today, sitting at about 25, almost $26 billion. The growth has been absolutely wild these past few months and years. And get this, even though we're seeing these crazy spikes on the charts, we're actually still in the boring phase of tokenized RWAs. Sounds nuts, right? But I'm serious about this. Why boring? Because what we're seeing right now is basically nothing compared to what's coming. We're watching this tiny fraction of value getting tokenized, literally like one drop in an ocean-sized bucket. So keeping all that in mind, there are a few specific things I really want to dive into here. So let's dive into the public networks because this is where it gets really interesting. We've got about $13.13 billion in tokenized RWAs just on public networks alone. Now, when you stack that up against the overall market view we looked at earlier, you can see that includes way more than just public networks. It's pulling in protocols like Securitize and others into the mix. This is really where I want us to zoom in and pay attention. The XRP Ledger, it's been absolutely crushing it, up 34% just in the last 30 days alone. XRP is actually going to be our main focus today, but honestly, there are so many other solid projects worth mentioning too. We've talked about Hedera before, another great example, but look at this growth. We're seeing value climb to almost $160 million, and even the stablecoin market cap is exploding with over 33% growth in the past month. Here's what kills me though. Most people are completely sleeping on this when it comes to their investment strategy. Everyone's obsessed with getting rich quick, making money as fast as humanly possible. But check this out. When you look at tokenized real estate, we're sitting at a whopping $143 million. I mean, come on, that number is so small, it's almost funny. Why am I laughing at it? Because the global real estate market is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars, hundreds of trillions. This is exactly why I keep hammering home that we are ridiculously early to this party. Now, here's the thing that really gets me excited. And we actually talked about this way back in early July. Bitwise dropped this bombshell saying that if Larry Fink's predictions pan out, the tokenization market could explode by 4,000x. Not 4x, not even 40x, but 4,000 times bigger. Show me another market with that kind of potential. Oh wait, there just isn't one out there. And when you really sit back and think about tokenization, this is going to be the story moving forward. I don't care what other narratives are buzzing around right now. This is the one everyone needs to have on their radar. Now, here's where things get really wild. You know what just dropped from the US government? The White House literally put out this massive PDF document all about digital assets and how America's about to go all in on digital financial technology. And guess what got called out as a key use case for blockchain? Yep, tokenization of RWAs. They're not just acknowledging it, they're actually focusing on the tokenization market as a major priority. But wait, it gets even crazier. So there's this fresh announcement from the GBVC that's got me pretty excited. Turns out Ripple, who's a GBVC member, just teamed up with this UAE company called Control Alt to help out with Dubai Land Department's real estate tokenization project. Get this. Control Alt is going to use Ripple's custody setup to store these tokenized property deeds right on the XRP Ledger. This is actually Ripple's very first custody partnership in that whole region. Now, the partnership itself isn't brand new. This actually went down back on July 15th. But here's what really got my attention. Marcus Inventure, who's the SVP of RippleX at Ripple, just dropped this new post that's pretty mind-blowing. So he was chatting with Leonard Schellberg over at BNN Crypto, and he breaks down exactly how Ripple is basically unlocking this whole new level of blockchain utility, specifically for institutions on the XRP Ledger. The way he puts it, the XRP Ledger is becoming this foundational backbone for all these financial applications, especially when it comes to tokenizing real-world assets. And he's not just talking theory here. He points to two massive partnerships that are already making this happen. First, there's the Control Alt and Dubai Land Department deal, where they're literally issuing property title deeds straight onto the XRP Ledger. Then you've got Guggenheim Treasury Services creating tokenized commercial paper on XRP Ledger, working with Ripple and Economy X. But it gets even better as all these real-world use cases start building on XRP Ledger. They're rolling out new tech like this EVM sidechain that just launched. This thing is opening up programmable compliant DeFi and basically setting us up for this whole multi-chain future. His big point, as decentralized and regulated systems start working together, which is becoming the new normal, public blockchains like XRP Ledger are becoming absolutely crucial because of that transparency, immutability, and security they bring to the table. This is insane when you really think about it. We're getting straight confirmation that Ripple is unlocking this next level blockchain utility for institutions using XRP and the XRPL. What blows my mind is the infrastructure angle. XRP isn't just participating, it's literally becoming part of the foundational infrastructure that's powering finance's move onto blockchain. This is the infrastructure that's building the future of finance. And check this out. They've got enterprise-grade compliance features baked right in. We're talking about a native DEX, the AMM that's speeding up RWA tokenization growth, plus this massive global developer community. The XRP Ledger was literally built from the ground up for next-gen institutional finance, and it's all completely open source. Here's the kicker. For institutional DeFi to actually work at scale, you need infrastructure that's compliance-ready and can play nice with everything else. The XRP Ledger, that's exactly what it is. It's got the AMM, tokenized RWAs, even DID, all of it built right in. This is why I keep telling everyone if you guys are just not bullish enough on tokenization. The XRP Ledger and XRP weren't just some random crypto project. They were specifically designed for this exact use case we're seeing unfold right now. And here's something huge that most people are completely overlooking: stablecoins. Think about it. If you want stablecoins that institutions can actually trust, they need to be compliant. So XRP Ledger and XRP, they're basically the bedrock infrastructure that's going to let tokenization explode on a massive scale. RLUSD is what people will actually be using for transactions on the network, while XRP handles all the settlement because it's the gas token keeping everything humming on the XRP Ledger. It's all one big interconnected system. Same vision, same puzzle, all the pieces fitting together perfectly. But here's the part that's completely blowing my mind. We're looking back at April 1st, and Eric Van Miltenberg, who's the SVP of Strategic Initiatives over at Ripple, said something that just floored me. The number of major institutions reaching out to them wanting to discuss tokenization products is absolutely insane. Think about that for a second. These aren't small players. We're talking about huge institutions actively hunting down Ripple to talk business. They're not even having to pitch anymore. The clients are coming to them. Massive credit to Subjective Views for grabbing this clip. Seriously, you need to see this.
I think using an example of custody, with Ripple Custody, formerly known as Medico, it's working with large institutions and making sure that they can scale. We have tremendous coverage of some of the largest financial institutions in Europe, be it DBS, HSBC, BBVA, Switzerland, and they're trusting us to come in, not only provide custody, but allow them to tokenize and pull it together in one package. So scale is going to happen when some of this fragmentation that we talk about it kind of is removed. We almost want this. We almost want this to be kind of boring. It should be really clear. It's not like taking a front seat and you spend half the time you meet with a customer just explaining the technology and why they shouldn't be worried about it, but you're really focusing on the benefits, the real world utility that the solution brings. And without that, it's going to be, it's a slog. And I do feel it's getting better. Again, the amount of inbound requests we're getting to meet with large institutions around tokenization products is just astounding vis-a-vis a year ago. And I think being able to again bring those things together in a very kind of frictionless way is what's really going to allow the real scale to thrive.
I mean, so that's a big change in a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially with this, as been referenced, this new administration, even the last several months. I mean, you just look, the crypto market cap is up $1 trillion in the last 6-8 weeks. It's astounding. Now we'll see what the next 6-8 weeks, 6-8 months brings. But I do feel it's an inflection point, and I think it's poised for significant growth. Now, again, there's estimates of a $16 trillion market cap of tokenized assets by the end of the decade. So there's a long way to go, but I think we're going to see that.
And listen, when you start thinking about these use cases like tokenization on the XRP Ledger, everything's getting fast-tracked because of these conversations Ripple's having with institutions. We know tokenization is front and center on Ripple's website, so let me just jump over to their homepage real quick. All right, so we've got all these different use cases laid out here. You've got accelerate growth for payment services. There's the tax stuff. Banks, if you click on banks, for example, that's mostly focused on the payment side of things. But I actually want to dig into tokenization specifically. I think that might be under custody now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, there we go. So the second you click on tokenization on Ripple's website, boom, you can see this is all built around the XRP Ledger. XRP and the XRPL are literally leading the charge on every single tokenization use case that Ripple's involved with. Here's the thing. Any institutional player that's working with Ripple on tokenization, you can bet your bottom dollar they're plugging into the XRP Ledger because it's right there on Ripple's own website. This is literally the complete product overview for tokenization through their custody setup. And here's the kicker. That entire custody platform is built directly on top of the XRP Ledger. What's completely nuts is we're seeing this market just blow wide open here in the US. You've got massive banks like Bank of America coming out and straight up saying that RWA tokenization is absolutely gaining serious traction. So Bank of America drops this report basically saying tokenization of real world assets is catching fire in the financial space. We're talking about taking physical stuff, real estate, commodities, securities, and turning them into these digital tokens on blockchain. What's fueling this whole thing? Institutions are getting way more curious about it. The technology keeps getting better. And finally, we're seeing some regulatory clarity starting to happen. Bank of America thinks tokenized RWAs are going to make everything so much more liquid, way more transparent, and just easier for everyday investors to get into. Their take on where this is headed, they're betting the RWA tokenization market is going to keep exploding through the end of this year and well into 2026. In their eyes, tokenization is basically the bridge that's going to bring blockchain into old school traditional finance. When you zoom out and see what's actually happening here, it's pretty mind-blowing. Every big bank is climbing aboard this train. The government's giving it the thumbs up. We know this is legit in the US because they literally put out this comprehensive document covering everything: crypto, digital assets, stable coins, the whole tokenization game. I think we're about to see this absolutely massive shift with tokenized RWAs flooding onto blockchain over the next few weeks, months, and years. Just like I was saying at the start, we're probably looking at tokenized RWAs growing year after year after year for at least the next decade, maybe longer. Why? Because this thing's going to keep picking up speed as more and more businesses jump into tokenization. When banks start rolling out those tokenized deposit tokens, they're going to see their revenue bump up big time. They're going to realize just how smooth and easy it is to work with these networks and this tech. But think about the money-making opportunities this opens up for them. We're talking about completely new revenue streams, use cases they never even thought about before. Honestly, I think this is going to completely shake up the entire financial system. Like, the whole thing is about to get flipped on its head. Because once people actually get it, once they see what this technology can really do, that's when everything goes absolutely crazy. That's the moment when it all officially kicks off. Right now, we're just chilling in that super boring part of the adoption curve. I know it feels exciting with all the price movements and everything, but trust me, we're still in the snooze fest phase. Just wait until adoption goes into full beast mode. That's when things get really wild. And that's exactly when we'll start seeing those utility prices really hitting these networks hard, which is what we're all here for anyway. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Hope you got something out of this. If you did, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn those notifications on so you don't miss any of the free stuff I'm putting out. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Catch you later.